There's a number that decides when you get to stop working, and almost nobody knows theirs. Search for it, and you'll get answers between $800,000 and $3 million, which is not helpful. So in the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you how the number is actually built, why the experts disagree, and how to calculate your own. Let's start with the rule everything is built on. The 4% rule. In 1994, a financial planner named William Bengen ran every 30-year period in market history and asked a simple question. What's the most you could withdraw in year one, adjusting for inflation after that, without running out of money? His answer was about 4%, which gives you a shortcut. Take the income you want from your portfolio, multiply by 25, and that's your number. So if you want $60,000 a year from your portfolio, 60,000 times 25 is $1.5 million. That's the number you'll see quoted everywhere. But here's what almost no video tells you. The experts no longer agree that 4% is right, and the disagreement is enormous. Morningstar's 2026 research puts the safe rate at 3.9% for someone who wants steady, inflation-adjusted spending. Bengen himself has revised his number upward to 4.7% because adding small-cap and international stocks improve the historical worst case. And Morningstar says that if you're willing to cut spending in bad years, you might safely take as much as 5.7%. On a $60,000 target, that range means anywhere from $1.5 million down to just over $1 million. They're not contradicting each other. They're answering different questions. Bengen looks backward at what actually survived history. Morningstar looks forward using today's valuations and bond yields, which is more cautious. And the flexible number assumes you'll actually adjust your spending when markets fall. So the honest answer is that your rate depends on three things: how long your retirement is, what your portfolio holds, and whether you can cut back in a bad year. Longer retirement means a lower rate. If you're retiring at 50, plan closer to 3.25%. Now, that whole calculation depends on one input: how much you actually spend. And most people guess. So do this instead. Take your current annual spending, then adjust it. Things that usually fall: commuting, work clothes, your mortgage if it's paid off, and the money you were saving for retirement, because you're not saving anymore. Things that usually rise: healthcare, travel early on, and hobbies. A common planning figure is 70 to 80% of pre-retirement spending, but that's an average, and averages don't retire. Your own tracked spending is worth more than any rule of thumb. One more thing about spending, and it's a genuine relief. Retirement spending isn't flat. It tends to be highest in the early active years, when people travel and do the things they waited for. It drifts down through the 70s as people slow down. And then it rises again late, driven almost entirely by healthcare. Planning as though you'll spend the same inflation-adjusted amount every year for 30 years overstates what most people actually need. Inflation. This is the one that quietly wrecks plans, because your number isn't in today's dollars. At 3% inflation, the $60,000 lifestyle you have now costs about $80,600 in 10 years, $108,000 in 20, and $145,000 in 30. Nothing about your life improved. That's the same lifestyle at a different price. Two things follow from that. First, keep a meaningful amount in stocks even in retirement, because a portfolio that's all cash and bonds loses purchasing power every single year. Second, when you use a retirement calculator, check whether it's giving you a number in today's dollars or future dollars. That single distinction explains most of the terrifying numbers people see online. Healthcare. Fidelity's 2026 estimate is that a 65-year-old retiring this year will spend about $185,500 on healthcare across retirement. For a couple, roughly $371,000. That's up 7.5% in a single year, the biggest jump in years. And critically, that figure assumes you have Medicare. It is what Medicare doesn't cover. And there's a structural problem underneath it. Healthcare costs are projected to rise around 5.8% a year, while Social Security's cost of living adjustment is projected around 2.4%. Those two numbers diverge, and they keep diverging. Over 20 years, healthcare roughly triples while your Social Security check goes up about 60%. This is why healthcare deserves its own line in your plan rather than being folded into general inflation. Two more gaps worth knowing. Medicare largely does not cover long-term care, which is the single biggest financial risk in retirement. A private nursing home room runs well over $100,000 a year. It also doesn't cover most dental work. And if you retire before 65, you need to bridge to Medicare on your own, which is expensive and catches people out. One practical tool, a health savings account, if you have access to a qualifying plan. Contributions are deductible, growth is untaxed, and withdrawals for medical costs are tax-free. It's the only account with all three. Now the good news, and it's the biggest single correction to most people's mental math. Social Security. The average retired worker collects roughly $2,000 a month, about $24,000 a year. That's income you don't need your portfolio to produce. So instead of needing $60,000 from your investments, you need $36,000. And at 4%, $36,000 needs $900,000, not $1.5 million. $600,000 less for exactly the same lifestyle. Two things to do here. First, get your actual number. Go to ssa.gov, make an account, and look at your real estimated benefit rather than an average. It takes 10 minutes. Second, understand claiming age. You can start at 62 with a permanently reduced benefit or wait until 70 for a permanently larger one. Delaying is one of the most reliable ways to increase guaranteed lifetime income, though the right choice depends on your health, whether you're still working, and whether you have a spouse. Let's put it together with three scenarios, all at 4%, all counting Social Security. A lean retirement of $40,000 a year needs about $400,000 from your portfolio. A moderate $60,000 needs about $900,000. A comfortable $90,000 needs about $1.5 million. Notice that the lean number is not some impossible figure. Plenty of people are closer to their number than they think because they never subtracted Social Security. So how do you know if you're on track right now? Here's a widely used set of benchmarks in multiples of your salary. Roughly 1 times salary saved by 30, 3 times by 40, 6 times by 50, 8 times by 60, and 10 times by 67. For someone earning $80,000, that's $80,000 by 30 and $800,000 by 67. If you're behind these, and most people are, that isn't a crisis. It's information, and you have more levers than you think. About retirement calculators. They're useful, but they are only as good as their assumptions, and they hide them. Before you trust any number one gives you, check for things. Does it show results in today's dollars or future dollars? What return does it assume? What inflation rate? And does it include Social Security or not? Two calculators can differ by $500,000 purely on those 4 settings. Run yours 3 times: pessimistic, expected, and optimistic. The range is the real answer. A single number is false precision. Now the actionable part. What actually moves your number? Spending $10,000 a year less cuts roughly $250,000 off the portfolio you need, and it's the lever you fully control. Delaying Social Security from 62 to 70 is worth around $200,000 in portfolio terms. Working 2 more years does roughly $180,000 because you're adding contributions and removing a withdrawal year at the same time. Cutting your investment fees by 0.75% is worth about $120,000. Notice that earning a higher return is the smallest lever on this list, and it's the only one you can't control. So here's exactly what to do this week. 1. Track your actual spending for a month. Not a guess, the real number. 2. Log into ssa.gov and get your real benefit estimate. 3. Subtract your Social Security from your annual spending target. 4. Multiply what's left by 25 for a starting number, and by 28 if you want to be conservative, or by 21 if you're confident you can flex your spending. 5. Compare that to what you have, and close the gap with the levers that actually work. One last thought. The number feels enormous when it's abstract and you're guessing at it. It gets much smaller once you subtract Social Security, once you use your real spending instead of a scary estimate, and once you realize that spending less is a more powerful lever than investing better. There is no single right number, only your number, and it's built from inputs you can actually measure. I've put the full worksheet and the tables in a download in the description. And a real caveat. Retirement planning involves taxes, health, and timing decisions that are genuinely personal, So for anything close to the actual decision, a fee-only fiduciary advisor is worth the money. This has been education, not advice.